chain too. Gotcha! The rechargeable Norelco rotary razor lets you walk away, free from nicks and cuts. Its 36 surgical steel rotary razor blades are safely protected inside 3 floating heads to give you a comfortable shave that's razor close, razor smooth, for up to 3 weeks on a single charge. The rechargeable Norelco rotary razor. It lets you walk away from gotcha.
10 years ago, no one knew me. I was part of the famous no-name defense. Then we built our reputation by being fast. Now, I don't want to lose that. I drink light beer from Miller because it doesn't fill me up, has a third less calories than a regular beer, and it tastes great. Now, everyone knows me.
Hey, I know you. You're,
Nick Bonacani.
No, that's not it.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
When life's grind gets to you.
Mustang. Mustang. Let a Mustang take you away.
This is a great time to go Mustang because this year Mustang 2 is base sticker price less than last year.
Mustang.
The 78 Ford Mustang 2 T-Roof convertible.
Go Mustang.
So beat the grind. Go Mustang. A better idea from Ford.
Sunday, the fun starts at the grand opening of Archie's Tavern as the help walks out and the family fills in for a bubbling highball of hilarity. Then, Alice's nightclub moonlighting becomes a nightmare for Mel.
You got 2 jobs, Alice. Pick one.
Watch for her surprising decision. Sunday at 9, 8 Central and Mountain.
On November 5th, CBS Sports presents Championship Saturday, leading off at 2:30 p.m. Eastern with live coverage of the finals of the Series Championship of Women's Tennis, with Chris Everett heading a strong field. Followed by a special edition of the CBS Sports Spectacular featuring live coverage of the World Middleweight Championship, with #1 ranked Rodrigo Valdez taking on #2 ranked Benny Briscoe for the title. And live coverage of the Washington, D.C. International, the major turf race in the United States. Plus the world's strongest men competition featuring the tire toss. That's Saturday, November 5th.
Earlier this week, Bob Tucker was signed by the Minnesota Vikings. He left the New York Giants in a huff. Well, he has Minnesota right now ahead of Atlanta. He caught the touchdown pass thrown by Fran Tarkenton. 14-7, the Vikings lead Atlanta. It has been a tough, tough game. Washington, Philadelphia. Joe Theismann, quarterbacking the Redskins today. He has thrown 2 touchdown passes to tight end Gene Fugit, 23-10 in the third quarter. Cincinnati comes in with Kenny Anderson in the second half. They lead Houston and John Hadle right now, 10-3 in the fourth quarter. Cleveland getting even for losing to Kansas City on the last Sunday of last year, 30-0 in the third quarter. The New York Jets and New England. Grogan with a couple of touchdown passes, one to their top draft choice. Stanley Morgan of 52 yards. Morgan a burner. He's got 4.4 speed. In the fourth, it's 24-13, the Patriots. San Diego now trailing Miami, 13-7. That game is in the fourth quarter. Clarence Duran intercepted 3 for San Diego in the first quarter. And, of course, 16-0 at the half. Chicago leading Green Bay. Detroit and Dallas right now. Cowboys on the move, 3 seconds left in the half, 20-0 in the second quarter. And the game you're watching, Los Angeles leading New Orleans by a score of 20-17. That's at the half. And the NFL today will continue on CBS after these messages from your local stations.
Joyce risks her career by trying to keep Police Chief Fletcher from being eliminated from her TV series on The Betty White Show tomorrow on CBS.
This has been a big afternoon for the defensive backs. So in honor of that, we turn to Irv Cross to start our highlights.
Okay, in the fourth quarter down in Atlanta, the Atlanta Falcons, in a real tough defensive battle, has been indicated lead 14-7 in the fourth quarter. And early in the game, Van Tarkenton going to the air has a pass picked off by Rollin Lawrence, and he brings the ball up around the 49-yard line, setting up a scoring opportunity for his Falcon teammates. And Scott Hunter takes advantage of it right away, going to the air, hitting Greg McCreary, a tight end who's backing up Jim Mitchell, who's out with an injury today, and he draws first blood for the Falcons. They lead 7-0. Tarkenton comes back, however, in the second quarter with a touchdown pass of his own as he goes to the air to Sammy White, who hauls it in for a 55-yard strike, 7-7 in the second quarter. In the third quarter, the biggest run of the day, Chuck Foreman rambling 51 yards down to the Atlanta 1-yard line, but don't go away, folks. It's not over yet. It takes Minnesota 3 plays, and finally from the 6th, Van Tarkenton rolls out his brand-new tight end, Bob Tucker, touchdown, and Atlanta leads 14-7 in the fourth quarter.
So Minnesota is ahead right now by those 7 points, Irv. And Van Tarkenton, you know, has been intercepted 11 times already this season, and only 8 all of last year. New quarterback of Washington, Joe Theismann, Philadelphia against the Washington Redskins. Now, when you play the Redskins, they say, get to the outside with some speed. Well, the only trouble here on this play is that the Eagles cough it up, and Joe Theismann has got a chance to show George Allen and the Redskin brass what he can do, and he did it quickly. Gene Fugit is tied in for 1 touchdown. It became 7-0. Shortly after that, Theismann and the Redskin offense went to work again. And the former Notre Dame star backed out this time and looked for Danny Buggs. Buggs down at the 15-yard line. Theismann's second touchdown pass of the game to Fugit again, and it was 14-0. Eagles didn't quit. They haven't all year under Vermeil. They just haven't got the talent that the top teams have. Here's Betterson, ran it in. But the Redskins are very much in command, and I've just been handed word that Bartkowski now warming up on the sideline for Atlanta. Irv?
Atlanta, of course, Minnesota does lead that game 14-7 in the fourth quarter, but in the game you're watching, the Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears, of course, are doing battle as they always do, and the Bears have a halftime lead of 16-0, and Walter Payton is the man, of course, who sets the pace. Payton here goes down to the 5-yard line early in the game, setting up a Johnny Musso touchdown run, and Chicago took a 6-0 lead, missed the extra point. Walter Payton once again, this time goes all the way from the 6-yard line, touchdown, and the score right now at halftime, of course, is Chicago 16, Green Bay nothing.
And Irv, in the fourth quarter, New England leading the New York Jets by a score of 24-13. Okay, the reason for that pause is that one of the networks went back to the ballpark. Let's us now resume with some highlights. We have got Detroit against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's take a look at some of this action. Cowboys' only unbeaten team. Herrera kicks a field goal 45 yards, and the Cowboys up by 6. Mark Washington intercepts this pass by Landry, and here comes the return. Irv, these defensive backs are going wild on this Sunday afternoon. Billy Joe Dupree caught this 15-yard touchdown pass from Staubach, and it became 13-0. Detroit made only 2 first downs in the first half. Cowboys get it again on that interception by Hegman. And Scott Laidlaw will be on the other end of the Staubach pass. 23-0. At the half, the Dallas Cowboys, the only unbeaten team in the NFC, rolling right along, Irv.
I tell you, I wish I could give you a highlight, because I'm not quite sure of the package.
Take that package.
All right, let's go. LA and New Orleans right now, of course, during battle down at the Superdome. Let's take it right now. Pat Haden, starting at quarterback, scrambles around here and picks up Harold Jackson in the end zone, 18 yards, touchdown. Rams lead 7-3. Strawn makes a nice play here for the New Orleans Saints on a key 4th down run, takes the ball down to the LA 3-yard line, setting up a scoring opportunity for the Saints. Galbraith does a rest, goes over, and New Orleans led at this point in the game 10-7. For 3rd down and 9 on New Orleans' 14-yard line, you see a blitz here from the strong safety Chuck Chris, which sets up another series of plays. Let's see this Blanchard puts down to Bill Waddy, who fumbles the ball when he's hit here. He's going to be hit by a swarm of New Orleans Saints, and Pat Hughes picks up the ball for the Saints and sets up a field goal opportunity for the Saints. And they take a field goal. Elois Droom catches the touchdown pass. They take a 17-10 lead. Pat Haden doesn't give up, however. He comes back to his favorite receiver, Harold Jackson. He makes the catch, 17-17 at that point. And Where are we now in that game, Jeff? I'm not sure.
I think they're watching us. I think they're still okay.
20-17.
Barkowski now is in the game for the Atlanta Falcons. They're trying to come back against Minnesota.
The score here at the Superdome in New Orleans. At halftime, the Los Angeles Rams 20 and the New Orleans Saints 17. A fired-up Saints club taking advantage of two costly Ram fumbles, but then in the closing moments of the first half, New Orleans fumbled and the Rams were able to capitalize on a field goal by Rafael Septien to take a 3-point lead into the dressing room. So it's halftime here in a dancing city in the Bayou Country, and for the moment at least, the Rams leading by 3, 20-17.
Mr. Highboom.
Huh?
Mr. Highboom.
Yes?
Yeah. We understand that you're taking a trip with us tomorrow.
Trip?
Yeah, well, we want you to know that Avis is working right now.
Avis?
It's vacuuming your car, checking the oil, brakes, even the air in the spare tire.
Spare tire.
One of the ways Avis tries harder is working at night, so you're ready in the morning. Yeah. Oh, by the way, it's a Chrysler Cordoba, and it's blue. See you in the morning.
See you in the morning.
We try harder, Avis. Avis, we don't know another way.
America, you've been changing.
Coming, going, changing, growing. The things that make up life.
Why is Bank AmeriCard becoming Visa? To keep up with you.
You're traveling, you're moving, you're taking more from life.
Today you need money that's good around the corner, all across America, and in 117 countries around the world. That's why Bank AmeriCard is becoming Visa, the most widely recognized card in the world. Visa, we're keeping up with you.
When we play in the Superdome for fans like ours, you want to win big. And the New Orleans Saints are getting ready to do just that. Hello, I'm Darylyn Moore, and I don't have to tell you about my town. You can just hear it. New Orleans is Bourbon Street and all that jazz. It's the French Quarter, and a city famous for pretty girls. And you don't know what having a good time means till you've been to Mardi Gras. But you know the people here work as hard as they play. They run the third largest port in the world, and have made New Orleans a major oil refining and medical center. And between the good living and the hard work, they take time to be United Way volunteers. They help the mentally ill and handicapped, work in the boys clubs, YWCA, and many other agencies funded by our United Way. New Orleans wouldn't be the same without them. For all our volunteers, we'd like to say, thanks to you, it works. For all of us, the United Way.
The preceding announcement was brought to you as a public service by the National Football League. This is Ben Scully along with Alex Hawkins at the Superdome in Los Angeles here against a fired-up New Orleans Saints ball club. Those are the numbers. The big difference, of course, would be yardage in passing and the fact that New Orleans has rushed well against the Rams.
That and the fact that the Rams are not having much success rushing against a team that usually gives up about 200 yards a game. And they've held the Rams, who are number one in rushing, to just 44.
There is one story that is not on the board or in the numbers. If you were with us, you saw what, as far as Los Angeles was concerned, was a disputed play. A fake field goal by New Orleans and a pass from Tom Blanchard, the holder, to a boy who normally is a defensive end, Aloysius Grooms. And Grooms was all alone to catch the touchdown. The Rams were furious. What everybody chuckled about here in New Orleans at halftime, when they looked at that play on instant replay, Blanchard, in lining up to be the holder for a field goal, was on the wrong side of the ball because Rick Zorro is a left-footed kicker. There wouldn't have been any way that Zorro could have kicked the field goal out of the hold held by Tom Blanchard, and that has got to tick the Rams off when it looked that obvious there was something was up.
Well, I missed that too, Ben, but I don't feel any worse than the Rams do for missing it.
Well, I think everybody who loves sports will be looking forward to Super Saturday on November the 5th here at CBS. And just look at the interesting action we'll have for you. Series Championship of Women's Tennis. Chris Evert, Virginia Wade, Billie Jean King, Martina Navratilova, and Betty Stove from Mission Hills.
After the tennis, we go to the CBS Sports Spectacular World Middleweight Boxing Championship. Rodrigo Valdez and Benny Briscoe, televised live from Campione, Italy. Valdez, by the way, 59-6-2, and he won the WBC middleweight title with a 7-round KO of Briscoe back in 1974. Briscoe, however, is 58-14-5 since then. Then, from Washington, D.C. International, 26th running of this 1.5-mile grass course race, major turf race in the United States from the Laurel Racecourse in Maryland. And to top the afternoon off, the World's Strongest Men competition. This would be the 5th event of the decathlon, the tire toss. The object, throw a regulation-sized automobile tire, 35 pounds in weight, 28 inches in diameter, as if it were a discus for distance and accuracy. That's all coming up Saturday, November the 5th. Have you ever thrown a tire as if it were a discus, Alex?
How big do your hands have to be?
Only some of those guys down on the field could enter that competition. Well, it is 20-17. The Rams, who had fumbled away twice for costly scores, recovered a New Orleans fumble and settled for a field goal. So they start the second half leading 20-17. Maudy and Willis will be twin safety men going back to receive. And in a moment, Rafael Septien will be kicking off for Los Angeles. So the Rams 20 and the Saints 17. You know, when Septien first joined the Rams and they scored a touchdown, he seriously asked, could we go for 2?
Well, go for 2.
They said, son, we better give you a rule book.
Going to kick a touchdown, huh?
Yeah. So the boy from Mexico City starts us off. And it'll be Willis from his 2-yard line. To the 15, Jodat slows him up, and McClain is 1 of 2 to bring him down, along with Jackie Wallace.
The Rams are very, very high on Jim Jodat. He's from Carthage, and I guess it's in Wisconsin or someplace. Missouri, I guess.
Right.
But they're very, very high on him as offensive back, and he's doing a good job on the special teams. There it is. Cleveland unloading on Kansas City, 37-0.
Well, that's an 18-yard return to spot the ball on the New Orleans 19 at the start of the third quarter. 1st and 10. Bobby Scott at the wheel with Galbraith and Strawn, the running back. Galbraith inside Strawn's block, and he got almost to the 30-yard line. He's very close to a first down. A good block by Mike Strawn was springing him. Elmendorf at the bottom of the pile with Bill Simpson.
Isaiah Robertson, number 58. Fine linebacker, but look what he has done to him by Mike Strawn that time. Reaches on, but you don't bring a guy like Galbraith down with one hand or on a jersey like that. And that's his 3rd jersey of the game.
He's going to tie a National League record with 4 jerseys very shortly. Herman goes wide right and Gilliam left. The tight end who is so important, Henry Childs, is on the right side. And a quick out to Herman, overshot the mark. Pat Thomas ready to ride him out of bounds. New Orleans trying to recapture the feeling. This place was going wild, and that last fumble might really have changed the whole atmosphere, and you really feel atmosphere when you're in the Superdome.
Don't you, though? Or when you come to the city.
All right, 2nd and 10. The ball on the 30-yard line of New Orleans. Here comes Strawn. He has Zander trying to block, and Strawn is out across the 35 to the 7-yard line. Bob Brzezinski turned the play in, although he himself was ridden out by Galbraith. Cody Jones, along with Elmendorf again, stopping the flow. Mike Strawn, he's backing up Chuck Muncie, so you haven't heard too much about him. The first thing you have to learn is how to spell his name. It is not the way it sounds. It's S-T-R-A-C-H-A-N, but it comes out Strawn. 3rd and 2 from the 38. Under big rush. Overthrown for Don Herman. It was Larry Brooks coming like a runaway truck, and Scott had one look at that big number 90, and he just threw the ball out of sight.
When you mention the Rams in the defensive secondary, Larry Brooks comes, or excuse me, defensive line, but look at that. Pat Thomas, they've been working on him all day, but they haven't had all that much luck for him.
He's 5 for 13 for 90 yards, is Bobby Scott. And Tom Blanchard whose last punt was a beauty of 45. Will be ready to punt, and Billy Waddy is all alone on the Ram 15-yard line. Remember, the last punt that Waddy fielded, he fumbled. Blanchard, who had retired last year, Hank Stram talked him out of it. And Billy Waddy from the 12. Oh, the 35. And if it wasn't for Kingray, he's gone. Kingray, number 53, Rick Kingray, 7-year man out of Tulane, local school, able to slow him down. A 50-yard punt from the line of scrimmage. Look at the NFL regionals, as we also see a flag down on the field. Upcoming next week, Dallas versus the New York Giants. Dallas trying to remain unbeaten. New Orleans will go against Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Atlanta. Chicago will be at Houston. Green Bay versus Kansas City. St. Louis versus Minnesota, and Tampa Bay will come visiting to the Coliseum. A personal foul and evidently a clip on that punt, and it's against the Rams naturally, so they will lose some yardage and will go down to the field and pick up the call and the culprit. They will spot the ball on the Rams' 6-yard line. And Tom Mack wants to know the whys and the wherefores.
Who done it? Who done it?
The ball was in the air. Well, evidently having trouble with the wireless mic, as you can tell, but the Rams will take over 1st and 10 from their own 6-yard line. Wendell Tyler is in there with Lawrence McCutcheon. Dwight Scales is in a slot inside Harold Jackson to the right. And Scales in motion. He's picked up by Jimmy Stewart. McCutcheon into a crowd, and Pat Hughes stacked it up, and then Ernie Jackson came up to lower the boom, number 30. But Pat Hughes, 54, is the man. He's playing in place of Greg Westbrook.
The Rams getting back to the basic football. Let's take it back to the basics.
Boy,
that was the running game.
If ever there was a time to stick to the basics, that's when the ball was on your own 6. So 2nd and 4, a pickup of 6. They spot the ball on the 12. Wendell Tyler in there with McCutcheon, so Capoletti resting. Scales left and Jackson right. McCutcheon. And Wendell Tyler threw a block. It wasn't much of a block, so he got up and tried to block again, and he was just overwhelmed. And all the while, McCutcheon had nowhere to go. McCutcheon has carried 13 times for 34 yards, so he's struggling, not even at the 3.
As a final on that Minnesota-Atlanta game, Minnesota wins it 14-7. About McCutcheon, he has had 5 games against the Saints where he's rushed for over 100 yards. Usually has a big game. This puts it L.A., if they should win in first place, sole possession in that Western Division.
3rd and 3 for Pat Haden. And it's to Dwight Scales to the 25 and ridden out of bounds at the 28-yard line. Clarence Chapman, who seems to be Johnny on the spot for New Orleans, pushing Dwight Scales out of there. Scales has caught 1 touchdown pass so far this year. He's out of Grambling. Here's Rafael Septien, along with Jackie Wallace and other members of the Rams on the far sideline.
Jackie Wallace acquired from Baltimore. Free agent there. Good find.
1st and 10 on the Ram 28. In motion is Billy Waddy, and here comes Wendell Tyler with Harrah leading the way, and he's swallowed up by Bob Pollard.
Wendell Tyler's a local boy from Shreveport, Louisiana. He will excite you, averaging better than 7 yards a carry. 2 touchdowns, the longest of which is 44 yards, and that's interesting because as long as Chuck Knox has been the coach of the Rams, they've never had a run from scrimmage over 49 yards. He closed in on it last week.
By the way, in Wendell Tyler's personal history book, it should always be noted, his first professional touchdown against New Orleans.
Sudden death to Houston and Cincinnati. Pastorini completing a last-second touchdown pass to Ronnie Coleman.
2nd and 8 from the 30. A pass to Harold Phil Jackson, and he's knocked down as he crossed the 35 and got to the 36-yard line. This time it was Jimmy Stewart over there to make the tackle and knock him out. So the Rams playing ball control now, and they have the lead, 20-17. The New Orleans upstarts led and looked like the best the Rams would get would be a tie at halftime. But a fumble by New Orleans, a field goal by Septien has given them a 3-point lead. Two tight ends on 3rd and 1. Terry Nelson on the right and Charles Young on the left. McCutcheon and Tyler, the running backs. McCutcheon and Clutch, as they call him, driving for the first down with Bob Pollard arms around him. We'll see if they have to measure.
Ferragamo and Namath. Who would go in, do you think, Ben, in case of an injury?
I was thinking, too, if you had to caption that, you could say perhaps yesterday and tomorrow.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad at all.
Well, they picked up the first down on the Ram 39-yard line. 20-17, Los Angeles, 10 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Jackson is right with Waddy the other way. They split the backs, and Tyler is still in there with McCutcheon. The backs stay in to block. The pass is for Waddy, and he was out of bounds. Right there with him was Jimmy Stewart, as they both sailed out of bounds, no doubt about it. Billy Waddy, boy, he brings that extra dimension to any ball club. The longest pass that he has caught this year is 42 yards, but he's averaging 19 a reception, and he's another fella who's accustomed to company. He has 8 brothers and 5 sisters.
Oh, buddy. Number 2 draft choice for him. I asked Carol Rosenblum's son, Steve, if he was the fastest player in the squad. He said, put the in parentheses. He is the fastest.
We should have known he was going to be something because he broke Cliff Branch's records at Colorado, and you have to be some kind of man to do that.
That's stepping. Yes, sir.
2nd and 10 from the Ram 40. Wendell Tyler fumbled but recovered it. In fact, in all honesty, I think you should call it a juggle instead of a fumble. It never really left him. He had a rep of fumbling at UCLA, but he had a broken wrist when he was a junior, and that's a pretty good reason why you dropped the ball.
That's right. And they put him on a weight program, strengthened his hand, which was about half as strong as it should have been. There you see it coming out. Boy, isn't it funny how the ball will bounce? Sometimes it comes right up to you.
So Wendell able to hold on to the ball. 3rd and 6 from the 44. Jackson is left and Waddy is right. They're coming. They're coming. New Orleans recovers. And it was Chuck Christ along with Alois Groom to put the heat on, but Christ, who was in on a blitz earlier, and Alois Groom, number 78, who scored a touchdown in the first half, has recovered a fumble in the second half. Is he ever somewhere else?
A most unlikely hero, Ben. But Chuck Christ, that's the second time in this ball game you see him blitzing right there, splitting between the center and the guard. Second time it's been successful.
Boy, that Christ, when he comes, it must feel like it's the center turning around and taking a shot at you.
Very reckless. All out. Yes, sir.
So the Saints now, with 9 minutes and 12 seconds, have recovered the 3rd Ram fumble. And Muncie is in there with Galbraith. A pitch out to Galbraith. He gets to the 30-yard line, trying to go behind a block by Morrison, number 76. But it took him a little while to run around Morrison, and that brought up the defense to get him, Robertson and Youngblood among others.
Jack Youngblood there, slow starter, but coming on the last couple games. But historically, he's been kind of a slow starter.
2nd down and 7 for the Saints on the Ram 29-yard line. Gilliam is left, Herman is right. Muncie and Galbraith behind Scott. And it's Galbraith. Again, it was Morrison trying to lead the blocking, number 76, but he is stripped immediately, and Galbraith really had nowhere to go. New England.
So that is the final. Grogan's passed for a couple touchdowns in that ball game as New England goes on to beat the Jets 24-13.
3rd and 4 from the 26. Don Morrison, who farms, they tell me, 220 acres, is trying to farm the Ram line right now as the primary blocker. Scott to Muncie. Muncie tries the other way, and he's decked high by Isaiah Robertson and low by Larry Brooks. Well, Robertson tried to ring his bell.
So why wouldn't you run Muncie? He's averaging 4.2 yards per carry, and you don't need but 4. Let's see what happens.
The Ram bench leading by 3, but unhappy over their performance today, as well they might be. 2 previous fumbles accounting for 10 Saints points. One led to a field goal, the other a touchdown. Now another Ram fumbled, and the Saints trying to capitalize and at least get even. They measure for the first down.
0.2 of an inch short.
Yep, inches.
Just an inch or so.
And the crowd is hollering go. Bobby Scott went over to talk to Hank Stram. After all, the Saints are playing loose and easy. They're not going anywhere.
And that surprises me a little bit. Don Shula and his Dolphins go under to the San Diego with a score of 14-13.
Well, the Beef Trust comes in now. 2 tight ends for New Orleans. That means James Thaxton along with Henry Child. Big play, 4th and 1. The ball is on the Ram 23-yard line.
Look at that finger working for Bobby Douglas. Now here's the way it is, and let's get it done that way.
Biggest play of the day for New Orleans, although we still have plenty to go, 7:40. But it appeared as if the Saints had lost the initiative at the first half closing. Now suddenly they have a chance to raise the roof of this place again.
And raise it they will, brother, when they in the closing minutes. They can make some noise down here. They have a fun time at the game.
Again, we will have 2 officials huddling for the moment. Make it 3 now. So it is 4th and 1 from the 22. And they're still not ready. And again, New Orleans will go back into the huddle. The only man to go in and inquire is Jack Youngblood. The Saints calmly going about their business. A big call, a big play. The Saints trying to regain the initiative.
I understand that the clock is not working properly, and until they get that started, they're going to have a little delay.
I couldn't figure that because when the play went off, according to the clock, it showed still 20 seconds. So evidently it is on the fritz, and we'll just have to discount it. The 30-second clocks at either end of the Superdome. So Bobby Scott, for the 3rd time, regroups his forces. The ball is just shy of the 22-yard line, 4th and 1.
Now we got that clock working, as you can see at the top of your picture.
Muncie and Galbraith behind Scott. And it's Galbraith, and he's got it across the 20. And with an extra burst, he picked up down to about the 18-yard line.
A lot of faith in Morrison and Childs going over that right side when you run at a guy like Jack Youngblood. Well, frankly, it surprised me they'd go there. Don Morrison started as a rookie, played on the left side. They moved him over to the right. He's made the adjustment. A dependable, steady player.
Yep, number 76. He's the one who's been throwing some key blocks. 1st and 10 on the Ram 18-yard line. Herman is right. John Gilliam wide left. Boy, we haven't heard from him all day. Here comes Muncie with Galbraith in front of him, but he runs into Dreyer and then gets away from him. Dreyer had him at about the 18, and he punched it across the 15-yard line before Bill Simpson brought him down.
He looks a little battered, too. Those jerseys, the tearaways, are being very well used today and very effective. Look at the strength of this guy. Gracious, when you run into a guy like Freddie Dreyer and just shed him like water off a duck's back. Boy, he's a powerful guy. Physically, he's probably the most talented, potentially talented runner in the game.
2nd and 5 from the 13. Here comes Muncie inside Galbraith. Runs into a crowd still on his feet to the 2-yard line. Pat Thomas tripped him up or he has a touchdown.
The strength and the balance. Chuck Muncie, last year's #1 draft pick. Watching. Good block there by Galbraith. Morrison into the picture there. Spins away from Youngblood. Look how he holds his balance. Didn't even knock him off stride.
Pat Thomas finally tripped him up. Another fine block by Tony Galbraith. Boy, what a game he is playing.
So it is first and goal from the 2. Childs and Thaxton, the 2 tight ends, and Mouty is on a wing. Muncy and Galbraith. It'll be Muncy, and he's knocked down shy of the goal line. 4 Rams hit him almost simultaneously.
And so predictable. Put Galbraith in there ahead of you. He weighs about, what, 235 pounds? And a guy that weighs about the same running the ball behind you in the short yardage, why not?
Chuck Knox, who in all of his years, like any other NFL coach, has ups and downs. He's trying to find an up here, and the Saints have him down. Although it is 20-17 Rams at least for the moment. Second down. About 1.5 yards away from the goal line. Galbraith! Galbraith, touchdown! 32 yards in 8 plays, and a very quiet Ram bench and a noisy Superdome.
Watch Cody Jones. Cody Jones will bury himself. Galbraith will take the opportunity to just go over the top. Short yardage situations, you see it happen a lot.
Galbraith somehow scored that touchdown without losing his jersey.
He'll be back the next possession, though.
Now, we were talking about the fake field goal. Will you see now where Blanchard is, since you have a left-footed kicker? On the touchdown, he was on the other side. The kick is up. The kick is good. And the New Orleans Saints, playing with that down-home music in the Bayou country, they have 24. And the Los Angeles Rams, ready to butt somebody, they have 20.
Up all this cargo. Yet for all this, the new Fairmont wagon, as shown, is actually sticker price less than this little VW Rabbit. Test drive Fairmont, the newest, better idea from the Wagon Master.
This fresh egg is going to help us sell this brand new Free Flex shoe from Freeman. Watch. You can do it with any new Freeman Free Flex. Let's use the same egg.
Vin Scully along with Alex Hawkins. It is 24-20 Saints. 4 minutes and 44 seconds to go in the third quarter. Rick Zarro ready to kick off for New Orleans. The deep man, Wendell Tyler, flanked on the right by Jim Jodat and on the left by Cullen Bryant. Zarro waiting, and there's Tyler waiting for the leather. Big man out of UCLA. And the Rams, of course, would like to have somebody bust one now to recapture the momentum. The crowd restless. We're ready. And now Zarro says, okay, I'm ready to kick it. Saints 24, Rams 20. A short kick, angled down the right side. Jim Jodat will take it at the 15. To the 30, and bangs out of bounds. Rick Mouty, the first man to hit him, and then Jimmy Stewart and Len Willis. A 15-yard return by Jim Jodat. And the Rams will put it in play. First and 10 from their own 31-yard line. 3 costly Ram fumbles, and in a close-up of Chuck Knox just a moment ago, he was talking to Haden about defending against the blitz that has burned the Rams twice by Chuck Chris. Championship Saturday, November the 5th. We'll talk to you about that again in a moment. Now Billy Waddy in motion right. McCutcheon. And he carries it out across the 35. Championship Saturday, November the 5th. It'll start off with the Women's Tennis Championship. Chris Evert, Virginia Wade, Billie Jean King, Martina Navratilova, and Betty Stowe. Then the World Middleweight Boxing Championship on the CBS Sports Spectacular. Rodrigo Valdez and Benny Briscoe, followed by the Washington, D.C. International, 1.5 miles on grass, and then the 5th event of the Decathlon of the World's Strongest Men. That's next Saturday. Look out for Lawrence McCutcheon. He's across the 45-yard line, dragging Ernie Jackson with him, among others.
That's time to get serious for the Los Angeles Rams. Run the basics. Rich Saul making a key block there on Derlin Moore. Just completely wipes him out. Alec Price cannot get to the hand over there and can't stop him there. Chuck Chris finally coming in, wrestling him down.
And that late arrival on the scene, Ernie Jackson, and Cincinnati had just enough to knock off Houston 13-10. 1st and 10 from the Ram 49. McCutcheon got across the 45, and number 57, Jim Merlo, brought him down. Lawrence McCutcheon, only one other Ram back in history, has rushed for over 5,000 yards. Dick Bass, 5,400. McCutcheon needed 178 yards to get to 5,000. And he has always picked up 100, let's say 5 out of 9 meetings against the Saints. 2 weeks ago, he rushed for 126. He has 64 today. And Pat Haden asking for time.
He's not going to take a chance if there's any mix-up of another Chuck Chris blitz or anything like that. Get it straight. Look how poised the Rams are, though.
I was just going to ask you, Alex, when a moment ago we saw Chuck Knox talking to Haden about defending the blitz, when we come back from this commercial message, might try and figure out who's going to pick up the blitz.
All righty.
It's about time you're here. Another late night, I presume? Well, let's get started. The first thing we have for your assignment is this micro-cassette tape recorder.
Genius. Did you design this, huh?
Well, no, actually. It's a Sony. Next is this radio with 32 worldwide bands. Can tune in just about any place.
Extraordinary. Who gets the credit for this one?
This is a Sony, too. You'll also need this ultra-compact portable video camera, and we're going to mount this 5-inch color TV in your car, along with this Betamax deck for playback.
Remarkable. Are they,
Yes, they're Sony also.
Excuse me, sir, but did you just walk into a store and buy these?
Well, yes.
Well, keep up the good work, sir.
If it's a little extraordinary, chances are it's a Sony.
Monday, Logan, Jessica, and Rem are captured by a society with an amazing secret. Behold the terror the future holds. Logan's Run, Monday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
There's John Capoletti, an offensive back, along with some defensive players. Al Cowling, Bill Simpson, among others. Capoletti has not seen much service at all. It's been Wendell Tyler of late. Billy Waddy goes wide left, Harold Jackson right. And it's Cullen Bryant in there now with Lawrence McCutcheon. Bryant blocking for McCutcheon, who gets across the 40 down to about the 38. Alex, we've got a moment on the blitz, and we've seen safety man Chuck Chris blitz twice successfully. We saw Knox talking to Haden. Whose responsibility is?
That'll be one of the backs. And if you remember on the last blitz, Wendell Tyler was in the backfield at the time, being kind of unfamiliar with the position because he's been used halfback and fullback and all that. Might have messed him up. They're responsible for that.
All right, the Rams have picked up the first down on the New Orleans 37-yard line. Haden passing on first down. And throws intended for Billy Waddy. Ernie Jackson was right there defending. An interested spectator. They also serve who only stand and wait. And for the first time in his life, he's waiting. Joe Namath.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, they say he's handling himself extremely well, though. He resigned himself to the fact he's going to be a backup quarterback, and he says, I'll make every contribution I can. You got to hand it to the guy.
Yeah, it's a tough and very unfamiliar role for Namath. 2nd and 10 from the New Orleans 37-yard line. The Saints leading the Rams 24-20. 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the third quarter. Slot right with Waddy inside Jackson, and now they send Waddy in motion. McCutcheon fighting his way for a yard. He almost lost it to Derlin Moore, number 74. Moore had him behind the line of scrimmage, but he got away, and Alex Price finally brought him down.
Ooh, Dallas is striking hard. Detroit, not a good road team. 30-0.
Well, Dallas playing New York, trying to go undefeated.
They are so powerful, so much depth.
Third down and a big 7 from the 34. Waddy is right, Jackson is left, and it's Bryant and McCutcheon. And Haden going deep to Jackson. What a save by Clarence Chapman. He's a guy who qualified, and you can take a look on an NCAA track meet. He ran 60 yards in 6'1", and he needed it there.
He needed every bit of it that time. He was beaten on the play, just a last great effort there, getting a hand in there. Jackson was behind him. Great play by Clarence Chapman.
And Pat Haden took a little lick from Pat Hughes, so he'll remember that play. But Clarence Chapman saved it. And now, with the score 24-20 Saints, Raphael Septien is going to try and kick a 52-yard field goal. Well, he's done it in practice. He's done it in college. He's made it from 36. He's made it from 27. This one is out of gas. No good. So the Rams are denied thanks to that magnificent defensive effort by Clarence Chapman. And the Saints are still holding on to the clarinet. And they're leading 24-20.
Want to cut your fuel bills? Whether your house is new or old, put insulation everywhere. It can save you money. Your attic. You need a 6 to 12-inch blanket of pink Owens Corning fiberglass. Walls. Full insulation. Unheated crawl space, insulate below the floor. Live where it's cold, insulate basement walls. See your Owens Corning fiberglass supplier to learn all about insulation. Insulation is cheaper than oil.
You got a place to get to. Exxon knows along the way. It's nice to hear somebody say, thanks for coming by today. Exxon wants you here tomorrow. It's always nice to say, come on in, hey, where you been? Thanks for coming by today.
Thanks for coming by.
Pat Haden is 13 for 20 for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he just missed a third one, and he's a little downcast for the moment and taking a breather. New Orleans takes over 1st and 10 on their own 34. Henry Childs goes wide right and a slot left with Herman inside Gilliam. As Strawn with Galbraith blocking. And Strawn knocked out of bounds. He crossed the 40-yard line. He went out at the 42. Jim Youngblood grabbing him and dragging him out. Mike Strawn on the sideline, a somewhat pensive player, alone with his thoughts, as are most of the Rams for the moment, down by 4.
Don't worry about Mike Strawn. You know, he's filling in for Muncie and sharing the duties there. In 75, he was having an outstanding season, 600 and some yards until he got hurt in the 11th game as a final in that Washington game.
Talking about hurt, Jack Youngblood was hurt, taken to the sidelines. Al Cowlings is in there now. 2nd and 2 from the 42. Galbraith fights his way, and he might have made the first down despite Larry Brooks. There's Jack Youngblood along with Vince Ferragamo, and Youngblood has to come out. And, of course, for Jack Youngblood, be a big blow to the Ram defense if they lose that defensive end. Al Cowlings, the 7-year veteran out of SC, picking up the slack.
The Rams somehow don't look the least bit concerned on the bench, do they?
I guess they feel that having already scored 20, they can score a lot more. For the Saints, they're coming out of a dogfight last week where they came up short despite scoring over 30. So here they go, 3rd and 1 from the 43. Galbraith. And it would appear as if he made it. If Galbraith only had Galbraith blocking for him, he'd be something.
He is good. He is a fine blocker.
And now, Raphael Septien, who knows now that his foot might very well figure in this battle of field goals, among other things, and particularly since he has been cut earlier by New Orleans, you can imagine the mixed emotions he has down here. He spent a lengthy 10 minutes before the game talking to Rick Zarro, who does the kicking for the Saints. Well, let's see if he made it. The angle appeared as if he did. Now they say 2 inches. And the crowd hollers, go for it. And Hank Strand says thank you, but no thank you.
Not at this point in time.
We're leading by 4. Why in the world do we want to give him the ball here if we come up a buck short? So Henry, with epaulets on his T-shirts, patrolling the sidelines for New Orleans. Billy Waddy all alone on his 15-yard line. And Tom Blanchard, who has 2 punts and an average of 47.5. And there's Billy Waddy standing on the 15. New Orleans, however, has had a very poor punt coverage team thus far. Waddy from the 23, and a fair catch, and that'll be that. So the Rams will take over. 42 seconds left to go in the third quarter. The Saints 24, the Rams 20. In a battle of fumbles, and so far, New Orleans has picked off more than the Rams.
Here's to good friends. Tonight is
Well,
kind of special.
tomorrow we go back to civilization. Let's have a last night in the wilderness party.
Yeah, I've got just what we need.
So tonight.
Hey, hello, Rob. You've been hiding that all week? I was waiting for the right moment.
When you want the taste of a truly great beer, tonight, let it be Lowenbrau.
Well, like the song says, here's to good friends.
Let it be Lowenbrau.
With the price of most things going up, the sticker price of Pinto, the best-selling American small car, is coming down. As of October 3rd, new 78 model Pintos with more standard features will have a lower sticker price than last year's model comparably equipped. Important features are now standard, like AM radio, power front disc brakes, rear window defroster, tinted glass, and protective body side moldings. Ford Pinto, more car for the money than last year. When America needs a better idea, Ford puts it on wheels.
With 42 seconds remaining in the third quarter, the Saints leading the Rams 24-20. The Rams take over 1st and 10 on their own 24. Harold Jackson wide right. Waddy goes left. Wendell Tyler is in there now with McCutcheon. It's McCutcheon for a couple. In looking at some of the important numbers, you have to concentrate on Tony Galbraith, who has carried 18 times. He's been the workhorse offensively, 18 times for 80 yards. And Lawrence McCutcheon has carried 20 times for 77 yards. They've been the principal runners today. 2nd and 6 from the 28, a pickup of 4. McCutcheon. And a flag, a penalty against Wendell Tyler. You can bet the house that Wendell Tyler held.
No doubt about it, Ben. He reached out with his right arm.
Whoa,
Let's
is
see if
that
we
obvious?
can pick it up. Let's see if we can pick it up here. Pat Haden hands off, but it should be coming in the picture just ahead of you. Left side of your screen. Oh, caught it a little bit late.
But the officials caught it right away.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it.
Pat Hughes, the linebacker, had beaten Tyler. And Wendell instinctively reached out and grabbed him by the jersey, and standing right in front of him was a motorcycle policeman ready to write out the ticket.
Well, the Rams very predictable, though. They're keeping the ball on the ground, keeping the poise, not worried about it, trying to establish the basics.
That's back to the 18-yard line. Personal foul.
Pat Haden, sooner or later, is going to have to reach in the bag and come up with a trick or two.
By the way, that wireless microphone worn by the referee is not our equipment. That's the league's microphone. 3 seconds to go in the third quarter. 2nd down and 15 from the 19. And Haden belted, but not all, even though New Orleans, Derlin Moore chases the ball in the end zone. And time would appear to have run out as we take another look.
See, I believe it was Derlin Moore.
So that's the end of the third quarter with the score, the Saints 24, the Rams 20. We now pause for a word from your local station.
A half-wild mountain child that's kept under lock and key brings Rafferty onto the scene tomorrow night on CBS.
John Capoletti, who had carried the ball 103 times this year and only one fumble, suddenly finds himself on the sidelines as first Tyler and then Bryant alternates with McCutcheon. 3rd and 15 after that holding call charged against Wendell Tyler. Backstay into block. And Haden deep to Harold Jackson at the 35. And Chapman has him by the jersey, brings him down at the 24-yard line. Harold Jackson wide open, and Haden hit him on the money.
The man can just fly. The coverage was there. He just simply outran the coverage by a wide margin. The pass is underthrown a little bit by Pat Haden, who's worked to strengthen his arm, and in fact has. Look how much behind him there was. He just outdistanced the coverage. And Clarence Chapman, as you know, can step it.
That's a 59-yard coverage play on a pass from Pat Haden to Harold Jackson. Jackson's longest this year, 37 yards. He had averaged almost 13 a catch.
When you've got two guys like Harold Jackson and Bill Waddy, you can't even rely on your zone defenses because they outrun the zone coverage.
Well, the Rams needed a big play, and it would appear as if they have gotten it now. 5 defensive backs for New Orleans. Haden has it 1st and 10 on the Saints 23. Lawrence McCutcheon, and he barrels to the 15. Picked up 8, so it should be 2nd and 2. Chuck Christ at the bottom of the pile, number 44.
I believe there was Cullen Bryant in there blocking in the backfield for him. I wonder what happened to John Capoletti. We have not seen him.
Capoletti left the field. He was not injured to our knowledge. They've just decided to alternate Tyler and Bryant. Bryant's in there again with McCutcheon. Jackson right and Waddy left. 2nd and 3.5. McCutcheon going to the 10. Bumped and knocked out of bounds at the 8-yard line.
Ernie Jackson again coming in there making the stop. I don't know how many plays he's figured in on today. There's one more look at John Capoletti. Now McCutcheon bounces outside. Reads his blocking very well. Cullen Bryant putting a nice block on there. There's a guy, though, that rarely breaks the long runs, but he's very consistent. Ernie Jackson, if he's just a little bigger, there's Chuck Christ giving a little bit of out-of-bounds action there.
McCutcheon has carried 22 times for 93 yards, and he's going to carry again, spinning and driving to the 2 and leaving Saints in his wake. So McCutcheon is indeed the workhorse for the Rams. The Ram bench, as you mentioned earlier, not appeared worried, as if they can score against New Orleans. Been their own fumbles and a couple of breaks that kept the Saints in the game.
And what a heartbreaker for the Saints if they should go ahead and win the ball game, because they've lost so many games this year that they've been in nearly every game this year.
McCutcheon needs 1 yard to get 100. And he's in there with Wendell Tyler now. And that's Bryant as a wide receiver. And McCutcheon got the yard and got a touchdown with it. 76 yards in 7 plays for the Rams, and they are now leading 26-24.
The mark of a championship team, though, right there. Needing a yard, being able to get it, and the way they handle themselves, like they're not surprised at all that they made it.
So Lawrence McCutcheon, for the 6th time in 10 meetings with New Orleans, goes over the 100-yard mark rushing. He needs 78 yards to get to the 5,000-yard mark in his career. He is the 2nd NFC rusher, averaging 4, and in 24 carries for 100, he has averaged a little better than 4 today. Lawrence McCutcheon. Clutch, they call him, and clutch he is. Now Septien trying to make it 27-24. Whoa, bad touch. A flag on the play. Septien. Ha ha ha. What's it do? Throw it up in the air. It's picked off by Ernie Jackson. And I was thinking of Garo Yefremian when I was watching Septien.
Boy, when something like that happens, they lose their poise altogether.
Flag on the play, remember.
You would think as much time as those kickers have spent by they could handle themselves in situations like that a little more.
It looks like offsides, a preliminary signal. There it is. Offsides against the Rams. So offsides plus a bad snap from center. So the Rams 26 and the Saints 24. We have 12 minutes and 55 seconds left to go in the ballgame. Boy, whatever you do, don't go wandering off.
Except for the insurance and closing.
Oh, well, what insurance company?
Ah, they're all the same.
Allstate's different.
Different. How?
We give a 10% discount for newer homes.
Oh?
It's a 10% discount
Now 10% off already.
on basic homeowners insurance for houses 5 years old or less.
Allstate's different, all right.
Good hand.
Oh, boy.
When it takes being different to be better, Allstate will do it.
That's a promise from us. The good hands people.
You know, it looked like a light day, with nothing to deliver but posters for the AC Spark Plug Buy 7, Get 1 free sale. What could be easier, right? Wrong. Do you know how many places sell AC Spark Plugs? And everyone with a poster like this is selling 8 AC Spark Plugs for the price of 7, as long as supplies last. Sure, getting a free AC Spark Plug is a great idea. But you better move fast.
Next Saturday, CBS Sports presents live coverage of the Series Championship of Women's Tennis with Chris Everett and Billie Jean King heading the field. That's next Saturday at 2:30.
The Rams leading the Saints 26-24. Septien kicking very deep. Chapman on the goal line. Behind the wedge. Out to the 20, 25, 30-yard line. He was tripped up by Eckern and finally stopped by Nolan Cromwell. A reminder, Championship Saturday, November the 5th, starting at 2:30. The Series Championship of Women's Tennis. Followed then by the CBS Sports Spectacular with the World Middleweight Boxing Championship, Valdez and Briscoe. After that, the Washington, D.C. International, followed by the World's Strongest Men competition. That's the 5th event of the decathlon. That's all coming up starting at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time on Championship Saturday, November 5. Player hurt. There was a 30-yard return on that kickoff. Hank Stram out there to see how his man is. Gives us a moment to check the rushing. Not that much difference. The Saints have rushed for 164, the Rams 122. The Saints have passed for 50 yards, and the Rams net 241. But Raphael Septien, and you saw that number 1 walking away, he had a string of consecutive point after snap because of the offsides and the bad pass from center.
He may be number 1, but he's not the number 1 scrambler or passer I've seen. You know, the injured player, I believe,
Kim
is
Jones.
Kim Jones,
Right.
yes, number 32.
He was on the injured reserve list in 1975 because of an ankle injury. He was originally a high draft by Baltimore Hawks.
Go figure. You know, when you contrast the styles of these various clubs, let's see what we got there. John Williams, number 75.
Jackie Slater.
Yes, sir. When you contrast the two teams, though, here's the Saints with 5 free agents starting offensively for them, 3 on defense are free agents, and in contrast, the Rams with nothing but number 1s, number 2 draft choices all the way down the line.
Hank Stram was quick to point out, as we see the Cleveland bomb Kansas City 4-7, that the Rams have 16 first-round draft choices in uniform today.
How sweet it is.
That's some high-priced people.
You betcha.
Hang around with that crowd, Hawk.
Touch, the first computer TV. Magnavox Touch Tune Color Television. Touch, and lock in computer sharp color, computer fast. Touch, no need to fine tune ever. Touch, at the set, or by remote control, computer controlled color. Star System Touch Tune Color Television from Magnavox. Touch one today.
Hi, ever need to rent a car fast? Watch. Hertz, number 1 club number 21586, arriving San Diego at 2 p.m. on RAL Flight 9. Returning it there tomorrow. Okay, thanks. That's all there is to it. When you're in the number 1 club, nobody makes renting a car faster or easier than the Superstar. Even before you get there, your car is pre-assigned, your forms filled out. So rent a Ford fast from Hertz, the Superstar in rent a car.
We have 12:46 left to go in the ball game. 26-24 in favor of the Rams. So that missed point after might prove to be a very big one. 1st and 10 Saints on their own 30. Henry Childs wide right. Herman in a slot left. Inside Gilliam. Muncie, the deep man out of the eye. Muncie with Galbraith blocking. And he picked up 2 yards. By the way, for the Jack Youngblood marching in Chowder Society, there's 85. He is well and back in the ballgame again.
The surprising thing, the Rams looking so devastating on defense the other night with 4 sacks have not gotten to Bobby Scott one time today.
Meanwhile, Nolan Cromwell is practicing his hold, and Rick Saul is practicing a snap. Remember that high snap, but the Rams were also offside at the same time. 2nd and 8 from the 32. Scott, play action fake to Muncie. Throwing out to Galbraith, and he led him too much. Bob Brzezinski was right there with him.
Once again, going to the play action, hoping to take advantage of the rookie.
Hawk, you have an interesting note. They put the clocks on the quarterback here.
Oh, yes, yes. And one of the reasons Bobby Scott has not been sacked is he's been getting rid of the ball in 2.6 seconds, which is, it's quite quick compared to Pat Haden, who's been getting 3.07 or something like that to pass, which is ample time. That's good game planning, though. When you play against a team like the Rams, you've got to tell your receivers, I know you might be able to get open on a longer pattern, but we don't have time to hold them off to complete it.
3rd and 8 from the Saints 32. Back stay in the block. And Scott got his man, Henry Childs. And he's to the 45 to the 43-yard line. Monty Jackson made the saver. Big Henry was heading for home.
Henry, originally drafted by the Falcons, let loose, picked up here another of those free agents I've spoken freely of for the Saints. Runs a good discipline pattern, just find the open area there. Breaks a tackle, and he can go the distance. He had a 58-yard touchdown earlier this year. Bill Simpson finally dragging him down.
And the guy who had tripped him, Monty Jackson, so Henry Childs, who has caught 4 touchdown passes this year, makes a big reception. 1st and 10 on the Ram 42. Muncie is back in as the deep man in the eye. Muncie, nowhere to go. Galbraith threw a block, but there were 3 Rams. And in the middle was Jim Youngblood and Jack Youngblood. It was a family reunion.
Completely overpowering his blocker. Baltimore 3, Pittsburgh nothing. 2nd quarter action. That ought to be a heck of a ball game.
Time left in our game, 10:57. 26-24 Rams. The Ram bench, as they have been all day, kind of quiet watching the Saints. 2nd and 13 from the 45. Muncie is in there with Galbraith. It's to Henry Childs, and he is bumped out of bounds almost as soon as he touched the ball by Dave Elmendorf. Got it to the 40.
Once again, he'll take an outside release, go down about 5 yards, and turn it on out. That'll be the linebacker's responsibility unless they've rotated into a zone, which obviously they haven't. Simpson, excuse me, that's Elmendorf coming over to bump him out.
So the New Orleans Saints dreaming for an upset, and Rick Zorro, who's kicked a couple, might very well have a hand and a foot in it on the sideline. 3rd and 8 from the 40. Scott getting pressure from Youngblood, throwing to Herman. He can't hold it. Wait a minute, a flag on the play.
Hold everything.
Against Pat Thomas. Pat Thomas interfering on the pass, evidently. Oh, what a big break.
The biggest surprise to me is Don Herman trying to go deep. He just doesn't have the speed. Let's look at it. He's got his back to the quarterback and runs straight into him, giving Herman no chance to get to the ball. That penalty was completely warranted. Yes, sir. Official right on the spot there.
So the ball is inside the Ram 12-yard line. 1st and 10. We have 10 minutes, 26 seconds to go in the ball game. There's another look.
Looked for a second like Herman had been able to catch that. Came loose someplace.
So Pat Thomas, guilty of the infraction. The big boys are in there. Childs and Thaxton, the 2 tight ends. And the running backs are just as big, Muncie and Galbraith. 1st and 10 from the 12. Here goes Muncie. Goldbreath lays out a block, and he's inside the 10. Bill Simpson and Larry Brooks in on the tackle. Chuck Knox wondering, how do you recapture the kind of a performance you put on last Monday night against Minnesota? How do you come back with that performance again?
I think he's thinking more in terms of getting the ball back, because the offense is having no trouble moving against the Saints.
None.
The Saints are having no trouble moving it against the Rams. This is the number 4 defensive team in football.
2nd and 8 on the Ram 9. Herman is right. Gilliam is left. Muncie and Galbraith out of the eye. Tight end on the right side, Henry Childs. Whoops. It looked like
too much
the
time.
Clock had run out.
Too much time on that 30-second clock.
And for Bobby Scott, after 6 years in the NFL, that's an embarrassing moment for him to take too long. Big play.
And the quarterback is responsible for getting the team in the huddle, out of the huddle, in time to get the play off.
There's Septien, and there is Zorro, the two men who might figure very prominently when we get down to the nitty-gritty. They both can kick the field goals. They both have kicked a couple, but a missed point after has kept the Saints just 2 points back. 2nd and 13 from the 14. Scott, buried. He was hit by Jim Youngblood and Isaiah Robertson.
And the blitz was indeed on that time. That's the first sack of Bobby Scott today.
That brings up that point you mentioned earlier about how quick Scott has been in getting the ball away, but this time they get after him.
They feel they needed a little additional help up there, and they said blitz 2 of the linebackers. Neither one were picked up.
So remember, on the pass interference, they had 1st and 10 on the 11. Now it is 3rd and 23, thanks to the first sack of the day by the Rams. Only their 12th sack of the year. They had 45 last year. Brzezinski is out. Jackie Wallace is in. They're looking pass, of course. Scott, a little release from Muncie, and he dropped it. And so now all the pressure will be on Rick Zorro. Zorro will be coming in on a 4th down. We'll take another look at that pass to Chuck
Take a
Muncie.
look at Bobby Scott. Get a little in and out, the grapevine, whatever you want to call it for the Rams. It's a twisting thing. It was an unusual release by Bobby Scott. He just tried to run with it before he had possession of it. Chuck Muncie.
Looked like he hit Muncie on the right kneecap. So 4th down, and Rick Zorro, who started the day off with a 23-yard field goal. The line of scrimmage is the 24. They're spotting it on the 32. It's a 42-yard field goal. No good. Uh-oh. So Zorro unable to kick a 42-yard field goal, and the Saints are still trailing by 2. With 8 minutes and 59 seconds left to go in the ballgame. There it is.
Introducing the Ford in your future, the new Ford Fairmont. A new car designed for today and the years ahead. At 33 miles per gallon highway, 23 city, Fairmont has the highest mileage ratings in its class. Yet it has 90% of the head, leg, and shoulder room of most large cars. And base sticker prices for the Fairmont line start at just $35.89. Fairmont, roomy but with mileage like a small car, and the lowest sticker price in its class. Test drive Fairmont, the newest, better idea from Ford.
Should have bought Mobile One. The oil that saves you gas, you know.
Should have bought Mobile One. Helps you start at 35 below.
Should have bought Mobile One. Engine temperature hits 500. You're cool.
Should have bought Mobile One. You only change it every 15,000 miles.
Mobile One, the oil that does it all. Take it from an expert.
8:59 left to go in the ball game, and the Rams have just dodged a bullet. Remember, the Saints had 1st and 10 on the Ram 11. There's Al Cowlings looking on as the Rams break the huddle. 1st and 10, the ball just inside the Ram 25. Waddy in motion right. Second man is McCutcheon. Got away from Derlin Moore, ran into 3 more. Merlo was the first man to hit him. McCutcheon, when he took that ball, had rushed for 100 yards today.
San Francisco trying to get something together against Tampa Bay, but then who doesn't?
Yeah,
San
Tampa
Francisco 7, Tampa Bay, as usual, nothing.
0 for 20. Second and 6 on the 28-yard line. Billy Waddy wide left, Harold Jackson right. Wendell Tyler in there with McCutcheon. And here comes Tyler. And Merlo trips and slows him up, and then the Saints come in to wrap him up, and there's a flag. Merlo might have been clipped. He was the one who made the first contact with Tyler. And let's see.
It could have been by Terry Nelson, too. Terry Nelson was involved in the thing. It looked like when he bounced outside, he tried to keep from continue blocking, but I don't believe he did.
Yep, it's a clip.
Take a look and let's see. Doug France gets an excellent block here. I don't know whether you're going to see it in the picture or not. 77 hooks his man in. There you see it right there.
Merlo.
Jim Merlo being clipped by Terry Nelson. And those are mistakes that are so costly with your field position that you want to control the ball game. Now it is out of control.
Talking about mistakes, of course, one that jumps to mind immediately was the play where the time ran out on Bobby Scott. That's a big 5 yards. That makes a lot of difference to a guy trying to kick a field goal.
Indeed it does, Ben.
Here's Joe Namath, alone with his thoughts.
Burt Jones and his boys getting it together, 10-0 over Pittsburgh. And what's happened to the Steelers?
And Hank Stram, the perpetual, incredible walking man.
Said I can outcoach most of the coaches in football, can outdress all of them.
Here's the official. We haven't heard him in quite a while. Personal foul and a clip. We know it was the clippee was Merlo.
You got it.
So that brings the ball to the 14-yard line. Oh, look at Big D.
No mercy. Cowboys are having no mercy, taking no prisoners.
Terry Nelson shifting to the left side as the tight end. Waddy in a slot right inside Jackson. And Haden, a quick out to Jackson. Ernie Jackson has him. He lateraled, but I don't know whether it was a forward lateral. It might have been a forward lateral by Harold Jackson, and if so, the Rams have stumbled again.
Indeed, it was a forward lateral. Yes, sir.
Well, they picked it off. That flag was in the air as the ball left his hand.
A very calculated call there by Pat Haden. Not much danger in getting that one intercepted at all. When you get it out in the open field to a guy like that, Ernie Jackson, what a ball game he's played, hangs on with determination.
There's Waddy out in front of him, so it was definitely a forward lateral.
Sure it was.
Jack Youngblood, who was shaken up and out for a little while, he takes time out along with several others. That's Fred Dreyer just to his right. So the two defensive ends are huddling.
Knowing that pretty soon they're going to be entering the ball game again.
So a loss of a down on the illegal forward lateral. It is third down. They'll have to change the scoreboard here. Freddie Dreyer cooling off. It's about 72 in here when you're winning. Now it's 3rd and 20 from the 14. And Haden is letting out for Billy Waddy. No good. Ernie Jackson right there with him. And Waddy just ran out of real estate looking for the ball. So it is 4th and 20. Glenn Walker will have to punt it out from just about the goal line.
And Ernie Jackson running stride for stride with, well, not quite stride for stride.
No.
He's losing some ground there, but the pass too far out of bounds. Again, Pat Haden, who does not throw many interceptions, has only had one this year, I believe, is going to play it safe.
Glenn Walker has had one punt for 35 yards. Rick Mouty is deep on his own 40-yard line for a return. And a big play now. It is 26-24 Rams, 8 minutes left, and Walker trying to get the ball deep to New Orleans. Look out for Chapman, but he got it away. Mouty receding on the 35 to the 40, still on his feet, and down at the 42-yard line. And Clarence Chapman just missed hitting Glenn Walker. Watch.
Let's take a look. Coverage by that Rams, they've only given up 4 yards per punt return. That's the lowest in football. And did he get him? He was blocked into him if he did get him, so it didn't make any difference.
That appeared to be almost a costly mistake for New Orleans. Now they put the ball in play with 7:47 to go. That was a 51-yard punt from the line of scrimmage.
The line of scrimmage, the 42-yard line of New Orleans.
Excellent field position for New Orleans.
Well, here come the Saints. Herman right and Gilliam left. Galbraith and Muncie in the backfield. Here's Muncie. Galbraith blocking on Jack Youngblood. And he's still on his feet as he goes out of bounds at the 47-yard line. Ray Thomas, Pat just came over and pushed him out. But Chuck Muncie, who has an ankle injury, is very much alive now in the late going of the second half. Next week, the regionals, Dallas and the Giants, New Orleans, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, Green Bay, and Kansas City. And two whoppers, St. Louis at Minnesota, Tampa Bay at Los Angeles. The Tampa Bay-Los Angeles whopper means another definition. 2nd and 5 from the 47 of the Saints. Release to Muncie. He gets by Brodzinski, and there he's at the 40 to the 37-yard line. Chuck Muncie.
You believe that guy, the talent, the raw ability he's got? He turns it upfield. He's going to, on a cold, wintry day, he's going to hurt some people when he turns it up. They're getting the ball to him. Hank Stram using all the imagination you'd want to see. Mixing up the plays, brother. Look at the fluidness this guy. Every bit the ability of an O.J. Simpson or a Peyton.
Boy, he faked Brodzinski right out of his
He
pads.
can do it. He wants to. He can
First
do it.
and 10 on the Ram 37. Bobby Scott asking for quiet. Gilliam left and Herman right. The backs are split. Here comes Galbraith. Big block by Morrison, and he's across the 30. John Morrison put a big punching block on Jack Youngblood, and that let Galbraith pick up the yardage.
Watch Don Herman come into the picture with another block here. There's Morrison's block, 76. You'll see Don Herman in here someplace, yeah. He cracked back on somebody. And the hole's open in there, just staying right with that game plan.
The Saints are marching 2nd and 1 on the Ram 29-yard line. 6:27 left to go in the game. Muncie, first down to the 20. And down to the Ram 17, and they are going wild in New Orleans.
Lord Montgomery, Jerry Steve, all on the left side. Going to Muncie when they need him. He's been well rested.
Oh, what a running back he is.
Let's look at it. Big hole there. Terry Steve's block, very prominent. Look at him stride it out. If he goes to the outside a little sooner, he might break it. Bill Simpson finally, and how many tackles has he made?
And the Rams now have Jack Youngblood in the middle linebacker spot. It is 1st and 10 from the 17, and the Saints are driving. Scott going to run into Brodzinski, turns away from him and runs yet into another Ram.
And a bad time for a broken play.
Brooks and Jack Reynolds. That's Rich Nuzum. You don't see him play too often as he stands on the sidelines taking in the action. And the action is certainly out there. 2nd and 11. The ball on the Ram 18-yard line. 5 minutes and 12 seconds to go. Rams 26, Saints 24. Gilliam is left, Herman is right. Childs, the tight end, on the left side. Muncie with Galbraith out in front. Got down to about the 13-yard line. Chuck Muncie, a remarkable runner.
And so the Bears shut out the Packers, 26-0. And Bart Starr can't be a bit happy about that, but Chicago stayed in that race.
So Muncie, who had over 100 yards running against the St. Louis Cardinals, he is now starting to explode. He's averaging 4 yards a carry. 3rd and 6 from the 13. Muncie is dragged down, and a big play by Jack Reynolds. We told you they just put him in the play, and Reynolds, the inspirational leader on the defense, made a big play.
And he is, last week, entered the game, played only briefly. Out of 9 plays, he made 3 of the tackles. That's the guy that makes this team go, or has in the past.
Well, Rick Zorro was unable to kick a 52-yard field goal. Well, Septien had a 52-yard try. Then Zorro had a 42-yard try. He's also missed from the 50. He made one from the 23. This one will be spotted from the 21. It's a 31-yard field goal attempt. If it's good, the Saints will take the lead. It's up. It is good.
Got it! Hit the crossbar and went between it.
3 minutes and 34 seconds left to go in a shocker in New Orleans.
Look at this as it hits that left bar and bounces on through. Santa Claus has truly doubled back on him.
And of course, you immediately go back to the missed extra point by the Rams, and that thing, like the sword of Damocles, hangs over there. And how about that, Fred?
I liked it, but we still got 3.5 minutes, so don't go away.
That's Tom Blanchard, the punter, and the holder. You don't usually put the spotlight on them, but holders are almost as important as the kickers, as well as the snap from center. So the Saints 27, the Rams 26, 3 minutes, 34 seconds to go in the game. Atlanta lost to Minnesota. So this is a big one. And here is the hero for the moment.
You know what he spent his off season doing? He was helping to develop a bicycle that you pedaled back and forth rather than up and down or around. Now you tell me kickers aren't goofy. Would you spend your whole off season doing that? There's something.
For the Rams, Wendell Tyler, flanked by Cullen Bryant and Jim Jodat. And Zarrow kicking it to Jodat and to Cullen Bryant. Will take it to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 27-yard line. Cullen Bryant making the return. Rick Kingray making the tackle, a 27-yard return. Don't forget, Championship Saturday, November the 5th, starting at 2:30 Eastern, the Championship of Women's Tennis, followed by our CBS Sports Spectacular, the World Middleweight Boxing Championship. And after that, the race from the Washington, D.C. International, followed by the World's Strongest Men. And now, here come the Rams. Waddy to the left, and Jackson to the right. Tyler in there with McCutcheon. The pass is to Jackson, and Ernie Jackson knocks him out of bounds at the 33-yard line. So Pat Haden has 3 minutes and 20 seconds to work with.
Look at this hit. If Ernie Jackson would be just a little bigger, how dangerous he'd be. He would be a very dangerous person.
He's 5'10", 175. Harold is 5'10", 175. And the crowd chanting defense now, and the Rams 2nd and 3 from the 33. Lawrence McCutcheon across the 35 to about the 37. It just depends on where they mark it. It is that close for a first down. Derlin Moore, number 74, along with Bob Pollard, making the tackle.
You've got somewhat less than a classic confrontation, though. You've got the #1 offensive rushing team in the NFC going against the worst defense against the rush. But they've only got 3 minutes to get it the length of the field.
A milestone in Pat Haden's career on that pass to Harold Jackson. In his brief professional career, this is his 2nd year, he has completed 100 passes. But let's see, it is the first down. So the Rams, with 3 minutes and 15 seconds left, plenty of time, trailing by 1. And you can see Baltimore with a headlock around Pittsburgh.
Oh, that Burt Jones can do so many things with a football, it's scary.
All right, 1st and 10 from the Ram 36. Jackson right, Waddy left. Here comes Wendell Tyler. And Alex Price, number 75, hit him from behind. And he picked up a yard or so, but the Sands are running through the hourglass. 2:49 left to go. Saints 27, Rams 26. They have had 17 meetings. The Rams have won 14. All 3 Saints victories have been in New Orleans. 2nd and 5 from the 41. Tyler and McCutcheon behind Haden. McCutcheon following Tyler's block. And he's across midfield.
What a block by Wendell Tyler. What a block.
A flag on the play, however.
Uh-oh.
Closest man to the flag is Dennis Hara. And a big call going against Los Angeles. In fact, when the flag was thrown, it almost hit Hara.
Well, I'll tell you what, the penalty was definitely not on Wendell Tyler. Look at the block coming up here. If he doesn't stick his hand in there, hits Jim Merlo and does the job, opens that hole.
Hara was blocking on Alex Price, And although it is kind of unfair to call his name since the officials don't put the tab on it with the faulty microphone, it would appear to be that's where the infraction occurred, on the block of Alex Price. So it is 2nd and 15 on the Ram 31, 2 minutes and 24 seconds to go in the game. Jackson left and Waddy right. Backstay in the block to McCutcheon. And he's brought down by Jimmy Stewart at the 35-yard line. We have 2 minutes and 14 seconds left. That was a 2nd and 15, so it'll be 3rd down and about 11. Chuck Knox suddenly making a switch now. Knox sending in Cullen Bryant. And we're coming up to the 2-minute warning right now. 2 minutes left. The New Orleans Saints, 27, and the Los Angeles Rams, 26.
Stuntman, you get the bruises instead of the glory. You hit the deck and bite the dust till your bones ache. Then you pick yourself up and do it again.
Okay, cut! That's a wrap, everybody.
Let's go, buddy.
Boy, am I dry.
But now comes Miller time. Time to wrap it up and reach for the best tasting beer you can find. Miller High Life, America's quality beer since 1855.
If you've got the time, we've got the beer. Miller tastes too good to hurry through. When it's time to relax, we've got the beer. Miller beer.
We have 2 minutes left to go in the Superdome. Vin Scully along with Alex Hawkins. And the Saints leading 27-26. The Rams desperately trying to cover the necessary real estate. 3rd and 11 from their own 35. And the crowd chanting defense. Biggest play now for Haden. Who would he go to if he passes? Jackson, who has caught some big ones. McCutcheon. Well, we'll find out as Waddy goes right and Jackson left. Who scored a touchdown today, has sacked him.
He's in there for his pass rushing ability. You see Doug France, he just beats him on a strong outside charge. Pat Haden never saw him.
So Chuck Christ had 2 sacks of Haden. Alois Grooms now gets the big one, and with 1:56, Glenn Walker will have to punt. The 3rd sack, 19 yards. Grooms, of course, already got headline scoring a touchdown on a pass from Bobby Scott on a play that the Rams might not get over the rest of the year. Mounty deep on his own 30. Walker has 2 punts. He's averaged 43 yards. 1:40 to go in the game. And that missed point after haunting the Rams now. Waddy will let it bounce, and the Rams down there to cover it. It goes out of bounds at the 36-yard line. And with 1:28 left to go in the ball game, New Orleans has the ball, and they have a 1-point lead.
Five on the 50-yard line!
Hey, Charlie, with call last night, you put in a Prestone antifreeze?
Prestone. Who needs Prestone?
Prestone? You need Prestone.
If your antifreeze is...
1:28 to go, 1st and 10 from the New Orleans 36. Here's Muncie on the outside to midfield. Bill Simpson is the only man to get him, and he pushed him out of bounds. He got help from Pat Thomas, and he goes down to the Ram 29-yard line. Chuck Muncie.
Well, I don't quite understand Bill Simpson running along beside him for that long without trying to commit and knock him out of bounds or something.
Watch
the blocking
Galbraith.
is there. The blocking is there. Marv Montgomery, Galbraith making the block. But watch Simpson here. Runs along at 10 yards, 15. There's 20 yards. 25 yards before pushing him out of bounds.
That has to be respect about being faked right out of your helmet.
Could very well be.
1st and 10 on the Rams' 28-yard line. Herman is right. Childs and Thaxton, 2 tight ends. Muncie following Galbraith. Got across the 25. Bill Simpson had to come up. He needed help, and he got it from Brzezinski, among others.
Albert doing a job on Isaiah Robinson. Mark Montgomery's doing a job on Freddie Dryer, and they're moving to the football.
Timeout, Los Angeles. 1 minute and 9 seconds left to go. The New Orleans Saints at 27. The Rams, 26.
Five on the 50-yard line!
Hey, Charlie, with call last night, you put in a Prestone antifreeze?
Prestone. Who needs Prestone?
Prestone? You need Prestone.
If your antifreeze is worn out or you don't have enough, you could be in trouble. So put in a fresh fill of Prestone, too, to prevent corrosion and freeze-ups.
Prestone. We need Prestone.
Prestone. You need Prestone.
Come on, old trademark. Time for your walk. What's the hurry? I know where we're going. To where your family began. With the same Levi's blue jeans worn by this man. Hey, you've come quite a ways, little registered Mark. Now that I see these guys by the park dressed in your newest edition, sums it up right there. Levi's sportswear. Trademark, I know what you'd say if you could. Levi's don't have to be blue, just have to be good.
The Rams are on the ropes, and New Orleans sky high. They have it 2nd and 5 on the Ram 23-yard line. 1 minute and 9 seconds left, and the Saints leading by 1, 27-26. Mouty is split wide right. Childs and Thaxton, the 2 tight ends. Muncie and Galbraith, the running back. Galbraith across the 20 to the 15, with Simpson hanging on for dear life, and Elmendorf at the bottom. And they have torn the Ram line to pieces up the front.
Watch Emmanuel Sanders, watch the blocks of John Hill, and watch the spinning ability in the drive here of Tony Galbraith. He is a player, a bona fide player.
45 seconds left to go. The Rams have only 1 timeout left. And the ball 1st and 10 on the Rams' 12-yard line. Here comes Muncie to the 10, to the 5. Brzezinski and Simpson making the tackles inside the 5. 20 seconds left to go. The Rams desperately asking for timeout, but it's not going to help them. 12 seconds. Timeout, they're hollering. Chuck Knox saying, will you stop the clock? 5 seconds. And now they've stopped it. But it won't do them any good. With 5 seconds left to go, the New Orleans Saints are going to march.
Rugged as the men who run, men who fell the mighty fir and see it rise again. When the time in your life comes to get a chainsaw, get the King. Homelight, the Chainsaw King.
Whose reputation for quality parts is over half a century old? Where can you find over 100,000 parts, many of them better than your car's original parts? And who also supplies those parts to over 50,000 professional mechanics? Now, who should you see for quality parts? NAPA, that's N-A-P-A. We help keep America moving.
They backed the clock up 3 seconds because one official had already called the timeout prior to having it had run down to 5. So here come the Saints leading by a point. 2nd down. 2 yards to go, the ball on the 4, and if Scott just falls down on the ball, the Saints have won it. Boy, what running back. Galbraith and Muncie. And Muncie behind Galbraith is going to go out of bounds with 4 seconds left, and it would appear as if it's awfully close to that needed 1st down. Not that it's that important, right, Hawk?
Those are the small areas, though, that eventually you may lose the game by running out of bounds when all you had to do to win it is to stay in bounds and run the clock out. But the Rams about this time saying, get the fork, I'm done.
4 seconds left, and they would appear to be done. Our thanks to our producer, Bob Stenner, our director, Tony Verna, our statistician, Dr. Bob Woods, as Hank Stram, with 2 of the finest young running backs you will see anywhere by the name of Tony Galbraith and Chuck Muncie, with a backup quarterback named Bobby Scott. They have capitalized on 3 Ram fumbles. A big capitalization was when the Rams missed the point, so they had to settle for 26 instead of 27, and that point is going to kill them here in New Orleans today.
Another thing we might point out, I don't think it'll ever come to this, is the fact that the Rams beat the Saints by 7 points in their first game. In case of a tie in that division, and right now, who knows what's going to happen in that division? Them scoring could be a difference somewhere along the season.
The Rams figured to win this one. Atlanta figured to lose, and Atlanta lost. But the Rams are going to lose. 3rd down and a yard to go on the 3. And there's only 4 seconds left. Scott to Muncie. And he fumbles. And the Rams might have recovered, but time, I believe, has run out. It is finally picked up by Saxton, the tight end, but it had long been whistled dead. According to the clock, it is all over, and it is. The New Orleans Saints have upset the Los Angeles Rams as Hank Stram has won his 2nd game this year, and how sweet this one was.
Fred, you're getting married. You gotta look great, so stop shaving. It's better to get stroked in the morning.
The Bic shaver?
The Bic shaver is so responsive it doesn't shave you, it strokes you.
I'm gonna get stroked like this every morning.
And the Bic shaver's cheaper than blades, yet it's a blade and handle in one.
Fred, marriage agrees with you.
Well, he really got stroked this morning.
The Bic shaver, lots of great shaves from just one Bic shaver. Then it's time for the next. So don't shave, get stroked in the morning.
I got enough to worry about. My hairline, my waistline. When it comes to my money, our money,
We let someone else help us do the worrying.
our IDS representative, he worries about planning for our future. And that means not just life insurance, but investments and savings, too.
IDS, not just insurance, not just investments, but a financial plan designed especially for you. When it comes to your money, let us help you do the worrying. IDS, we help people manage money.
Over 59,023 actually here at the Superdome, seeing New Orleans beat the Rams for the 4th time in 18 meetings. All 4 meetings and all 4 victories taking place here in New Orleans. Today, New Orleans capitalizing on 3 Ram fumbles, got 27 points. The Rams would have had 27, but on that 1 point, a bad pass from center plus an offsides on the play, and the Rams wind up being haunted and eventually lose because of that point. New Orleans 27 and Los Angeles 26. Remember, next Saturday, Championship Saturday, starting at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, the Series Championship of Women's Tennis, followed by our CBS Sports Spectacular, the World Middleweight Boxing Championship battle between Valdez and Briscoe. After that, the Washington, D.C. International, and the 5th round of the World's Strongest Men of the 5 of the decathlon events. That's all coming up Saturday, November the 5th, starting at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then the CBS Sports Spectacular at 4 p.m. We sure hope you'll join us then. So the Rams have been beaten here in New Orleans. They go home a loser. Atlanta lost to Minnesota. The NFC West is still wide open. This is Vin Scully for Alex Hawkins. Hope you enjoyed the ball game, and the NFL Today is a presentation of CBS Sports. Now, we'll take you to CBS Sports. But before we do, here in New Orleans, as we watch this large crowd enjoying this 1-point victory, the Rams go home, and to finish up their schedule, they will play Tampa Bay, Green Bay, and San Francisco. They have 3 games in a row to get well. The NFL Today is still a presentation of CBS Sports.
Will the grand jury blow the lid off Wyoming's state capitol? It's high noon in Cheyenne as 60 Minutes looks at charges of corruption in state government. Tonight on CBS.